Hello, breadfiesta here, and welcome back to Let's Play WWE 2K23 MyGM mode. Holding it up to the camera helps me remember the name of the game, so I don't have to do any more takes. This is going to be a bonus episode. This is actually my second attempt at making this bonus episode. For the project, the next playthrough we're going to be going through is Season 6 of RAW. RAW is... the first 5 seasons I recorded, or I didn't even record. I played it on my own, so it's kind of like my personal playthrough. I showed the last 2 weeks of Season 5 as sort of a introduction tutorial to the project. But I want to revisit it because it is something I enjoy. The whole game is something I enjoy. But the Raw playthrough is really meaningful because I built up, a lot. 125 weeks. And you see how long like a single week takes me when I'm playing like SmackDown and NXT. So imagine how long it takes me like when I have like a personal investment, a different sort of personal investment, I suppose. So I tried doing a bonus episode where essentially I was going through the first 5 seasons of Raw and identifying kind of what happened. And I recorded for about 5 hours. I think it was like 4.5. And I about like 3 hours in, I probably should have realized sooner, but I realized like I was just reading through like my notes here. And some of it had been so long ago that I didn't really remember like some of the storylines that were going on. I just remembered who was feuding with who. And so I recognized like this is probably like it's super helpful for me because it did help me remember who like some of my top stars were and what was going on and what I was thinking at the time. But I didn't think it was very interesting content. If you're interested, let me know and I can like upload that. For what it's worth. There's also like a half an hour at the start where I essentially talked about the Royal Rumble because that was really what like this term of grad school that I'm in has been really rough. It has featured a class that was taught incredibly poorly and I had to drop. It has featured the flu. So I was sick, and bedridden for a week, which also impacted my decision to drop that class. So it's just, I am heading into week 7 of the term and it just feels like an absolute scramble. So I'm just sort of treating it like that. But watching the Royal Rumble did kind of reinvigorate me and made me want to return to like recording and playing this game and just, invigorated was really the word. So I did talk about the Royal Rumble. I'll probably upload that as well as another like separate discussion. I wish there was a Royal Rumble in my GM mode, but I don't know how they would logistically make that happen given how small the rosters are. But yeah, I wanted to do something to sort of introduce the Raw playthrough, the Raw project, before jumping back into it, so that you're not caught completely like in media res, like with a bunch of storylines that are already going on. So rather than reading through my notes for 125 weeks of MyGM, I thought about it some more, and I think what will work is, and what I've done, or I'll try that again. So my solution here is I digitized all my records. So I took all 125 weeks with 4 to 5 matches, up to 3 promos, and I just put that all into a Google sheet here. And so I think it's 105 matches per season. Because if I jump to the bottom here, 525. So that would be 105 per season. And so I took all that information, I put all of the winners and everybody else who entered who did not win, formatted for my tags, whenever it was a title match, whenever there was a run-in. The stars, although I did notice there were, I believe, 3 instances where I just didn't write down the stars in my notebook. So I just sort of guessed based on what was happening around those matches. So like this one here between Vicky McLeod and Ella Rubau. This was for the Women's World title. This was an Iron Man match. It was a level 4 feud. And it was the main event of a live event in week 15 of season 3. So given all that, I felt confident, guessing that was probably a 5-star match. But similarly, like down here, Nikita Lyons, Carrie Rush, Wendy Chu in a triple threat. This is week 6. This is middle of the card. I felt like, and I don't believe there were any feuds going on, or if there were any feuds, they were just starting. This might have also been Carrie Rush might have just debuted as well. So I felt fair guessing that was probably a 3-star match. So I had to do some guessing. Same when I was recording the callouts. There were a couple of times. I'm not going to convert that to a table. Thank you. A couple of times where I didn't write down what level the feud increased to. So I just guessed for those, but I didn't end up using these stats too much. But I did collect these all in this gigantic table here, where I have every single person who has competed on my roster. So that is, I believe, 32 women and 34 men for a total of 66 different stars. So actually fairly balanced, despite you'll see some differences between the two rosters as I go through this. But I did I have all of their wins split across singles and tag. All of their losses, again, split across singles or tags. I did have one match of all 525 matches that I've done, I did have one draw. The only match type that can end in a draw is Iron Man. And I don't do Iron Man matches too frequently. In fact, I can only remember 2 of them. One of them being the Ella-Vicky match, which I don't believe ended in a draw. But I did have a match between Bianca Belair here and Katana Chance. I believe that was in season 5. That did end in a draw, so I had to record that separate. But it gives me, win, loss, draw. If I hide this here, just for sake of kind of seeing everybody's records, as well as how many total matches they've had across singles and tag. So I'm able to see, everybody's kind of win, loss records. I also recorded everybody's total matches per season. So I have a sum here, as well as appearances per season. So you can see, on the women's roster, I've got some stars, like Ella Rubau has been a presence since season 1. Actually, in season 1, that was her workhorse season. I have a couple of other stars who have been in every single season. So Nikita Lyons has been in every season. Xia Li. I believe there are some who have been in every season since they've debuted. Vicky McLeod. That might be it, actually. And I guess technically you can say JC and Shotzi. A couple who have been around for a few seasons. Wendy Chu has been in 3 seasons. Zelina Vega, 3 consecutive seasons. Aaliyah is also a constant star on the women's roster. 4 seasons, just missed season 4. I filled those out. Also split between women's and men's roster. And you'll see here that we have Heath Manhattan, who has been on every season. And Heath is actually the only star on the men's roster who has been on more than 2 seasons. So on the men's roster, we have a little bit of a continuity issue that is actually going to be my goal for season 6, is to try to address that. Continuing through the columns here, I have win percentage. So just calculated that from wins versus total matches. I also recorded for tag teams who all the stars' tag partners were, as well as how many different partners they had. So I have some, for example, like Xia Li actually. If I look at like tag matches here, actually, yeah, Aaliyah has the most tag matches, I think, of any star, despite missing a whole season. Xia Li is also a frequent tag competitor. Ella Rubao had a good, I think it's season 1. She was primarily a tag team competitor. Lacey's another tag competitor. In the men's division, we can see like Mansois was primarily a tag competitor. Wesley, another one. And then Heath Manhattan, actually, interestingly, is not a tag competitor at all. He is primarily a singles competitor. I think he's had the most singles matches of anybody. So we can do like some sorting here in a second. But yeah, so I recorded everybody's tag partners. There are a few. So like Aaliyah, Nikita, Xia, and I think Ella also. No, Ella only had 3. So I think it is, yeah, Aaliyah, Nikita, and Xia had the most different partners. Heath technically has had 4 different partners, but you can see like tagged with Otis once, tagged with Joe Gacy once, tagged with Cruz twice, Ilya twice. So yeah, again, that just speaks to the continuity issues. Also speaks to how little I care about the tag team divisions. I recorded for promos, how many call-out promos each star had, as well as how many times they were the target of a call-out. So naturally, stars who have been more consistent on the roster, or continuous on the roster rather, will be, in more promos. So like Ella has been in a total of 24 promos. Nikita only at 17, oddly enough. Some stars, yeah, who are not very involved, like Io Sky. Io is an interesting one. We'll look at Io in a second, but never any appearances on promos. Another interesting one is Heath Manhattan. So only has done 5 call-out promos, and that's because his promo skill, I think, is only like a 2 or a 3. It's not very good. But it has been the target of 20 call-out promos. So I use call-out promos a lot to advance Heath Manhattan feuds. And then I think the last columns here are for titles. So world titles, singles title just for the men's division, so the United States title for Raw, and then tag titles. So the star who's held the most titles on my show is Ella Rubao with a record 4 world titles and 2 tag. I think most tags is Aaliyah and Xia. So again, my frequent tag competitors. I think, yeah, other than Ella's 4 world title reigns, next highest would be Heath Manhattan, has held the U.S. title 3 times, which is a record for that title. Or no, I guess Roman tied it in a single season. Kind of hot potatoed the title a little bit. But interestingly also is, obviously Heath has never held the tag titles, does not compete in tag matches, has never pursued them, but has only been world champion once. So that's kind of interesting. And that reign was like in season 2, where he held the title and was essentially like nearly undefeated in season 2. It had a really good run. I think his only loss was actually to Joe Gacy, and then ultimately to Drew McIntyre when he dropped the title. But yeah, so I did all that sort of like calculation. I digitized all the matches, all the callouts, as well as I just went through a little bit ago and did all the feuds. So I'm able to use kind of this to illustrate. So for example, if we look at Ella Rubao, Ella has been a face the entire time she's been on my roster. She's sort of the perennial, she's my top star, essentially. If you could have possibly guessed by how I use her on SmackDown and NXT. But like if I search for Ella here, we can kind of walk through kind of her journey through Raw. So her debut feud was against Lacey Evans. I didn't write who won the feud because I don't really care about that. The game doesn't really care about that. But that was like her debut when she won her first match and then started that feud with Lacey. Sort of a prove yourself sort of situation. Apparently I'm still logged in on my other computer, my laptop. From there, Ella largely competed in the tag division. So she tagged with Xia Li for all of Season 1. Season 2, she tagged with Aaliyah. And we can actually see later in Season 2, she would then face Aaliyah for the Women's World title. So it was they were a tag team for a long time. Had success. I believe they had the women's tag titles. And then after they dropped them, Aaliyah ended up turning heel. And then they had a feud, which would eventually be revisited 3 years later. But you can also see that Ella, most of her feuds have involved the Women's World title, so further proving that she's kind of the top star. The one exception would be when she feuded at the start of Season 4. Brief feud with Nikita Lyons was just a non-title feud. And then I've got cases here where tried to do something with her and Rhea Ripley, but it just decayed right away. And then ended up doing, Ella and Jody Garcia instead. So, yeah. Unfortunately, the way I kind of have this, I'll select them all. For stars like Heath Manhattan, who have switched between face and heel, I'm not able to really see their full journey because I haven't figured out how to filter on 2 columns at once. But I can just do a search. So Heath, debuted in a feud against Otis that ended up with Otis leaving the company. Then went into United States title feud with Karrion Kross. Moved on to feud with Joe Gacy for the world title. Turned heel, feuded with The Miz for the world title. Turned back face, feuded with Mansoor. I think he was face for the rest of the time, yeah. And then, feuded with Austin Theory for the world title. I think lost it, and then moved into the U.S. Title division to feud with LA Knight, Luke Gallows, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Wes Lee, Jinder Mahal, Tony D'Angelo, and then went back into the world title division to feud with Austin Theory, although he did not beat Theory for the title. So this is just sort of I put this together for this purpose to sort of touch on some of the stars, touch on some of their journeys. I also have, and this one is not, I have not audited this one. This is just something I had recorded on my phone. Of the lineage of each of the titles, so you can kind of see their journey. So my inaugural champion was Carmella. Some things are interesting from this perspective too. So Carmella dropped the title to Nikita Lyons pretty quick in Season 1. But you can see that Nikita, that was Nikita's only world title reign. So she hasn't been near the world title. I mean, she has likely... Let's actually find out. Nikita. That's not how you spell it. Nikita. She was in the women's world title picture in Season 1. Dropped it to Zelina Vega. And then she went into the tag division with Carmella. So that was a former rivals turned partners. Had a feud. I had one feud that crossed seasons, and that was Xia Nikita. So they had a feud in between Season 1 and Season 2. Nikita turns face, feuds with Ronda, goes into the tag division in Season 3. Has Io Sky and Aaliyah is my legendary team, I guess. They had a crazy run in Season 3. But yeah, Nikita feuded with Aaliyah for a long time in Season 3. Turned heel again to feud with Carrie Rush. Had that feud with Ella, like we talked about. Feud with Carrie Rush again. Went into the tag division with Vicky McLeod. Feud with Shotzi. Feud with Lacey. So she's been heel for a long time. Was she only face at the beginning and then for a brief period in season 3, it looks like? Well, I guess at the tail end of season 2. So that's also interesting from here. But none of these, I guess if I search, since she's primarily been a heel, Nikita. Oh, all right. Let's try that again. Nikita. Yeah, actually, Nikita hasn't been in a world title feud since the beginning. I gotta do something about that. That gives me at least an idea of where I want to take Nikita. Because we'll see when I pull up, I'm going to do the draft after this. Like, my goal actually with this recording is I have like a wish list here that I want to put together for the draft of like who I want to look for on each of the rosters. So let's go ahead and clear this here. Select all. So let's talk about top stars and who I'd like to see on both the women's and the men's roster. You might have also observed from watching SmackDown and NXT that I am generally primarily a booker of the women's division, and that's incredibly apparent on Raw. I have put a lot of the focus on the women's division, especially on Ella Rubau. Yeah, so when we get into the draft, you'll see it when I start. We haven't seen it for SmackDown or NXT because you only see it at the start of season 2 and beyond. But before you do the draft, there is a system called keepers. And it is essentially any permanent contracts you have at the end of a season where the morale of the star is positive. So I believe it's at least smiley face or green smiley face. I generally keep all my roster at green smiley face, but you saw like in the hard mode playthrough for SmackDown, that's not super easy. But on Raw, I have generally kept everybody at green smiley face or at least happy face. So if their morale is happy, that they want to stay with you and they're on a permanent contract, you have the opportunity to, at a discount, re-sign them for the following season. Depending on what place you're in, so like when I'm playing Raw, it's a 4-player season. So I'm playing as Stephanie McMahon running Raw. There's Sonya Deville running SmackDown. There is Adam Pearce running NXT. And then Tyler Breeze running NXT 2.0. I picked all those because it minimizes inter-show conflict. None of those other GMs have power cards that can affect your roster. And none of those shows, with the exception of Raw, which has the Raw is War, but I generally have not used that because my policy for Raw is don't punch down. So I have not done very much attacking of the other shows, if any at all. But depending on your place, you have a different number of contracts that you can keep across seasons. So I have always finished in first place for Raw, which means that I am able to keep 3 contracts. I believe it goes 3, 4, 5, 7. It might be 3, 4, 5, 6 or 3, 4, 6, 7. It's something like that. But because I finished in first place for season 5, I will be able to keep 3 contracts. And every season, I have kept the same 3 contracts. And I have unofficially, I have not used these in any storylines, but I've unofficially referred to these 3 as the Raw Executive Leadership Team. So they're the ones who kind of help me behind the scenes run the show. And those 3 are Ella Rubau, So I picked her because I really essentially like fell in love with her in season 1. Really liked her work and just the story that I put together for her. Additionally, noting that the local talent, so the ones who are not like real people in real life, when you turn them into permanent stars using the superstar training, they are still regarded by the game as local talent. So if I had not used my keeper contract on Ella, then she would not have entered the draft. She would not have been available for the draft. And I have a bunch of stars on here. So, for example, like Vicky McLeod, she's not one of my keepers. She's not on my executive leadership team, which means that every season I want to bring her back. I have to find her in the weekly talent scout, talent pool. I've had to do that for Zaya as well, because Zaya is not actually on my 3. There are a bunch of stars that I haven't been able to bring back. So Cinnamon Garrett is one. Carrie Rush I had to find separately. Jody Garcia I wasn't able to bring back. On the men's roster, there's actually a bunch. So Ella Rubao is number 1 keeper. Heath Manhattan is number 2 because he is also somebody I brought up in season 1. So that's kind of explains the continuity there. But I've also had like not as many on the men's side, I believe. I think it might actually just be Matt Adore. Yeah. Who, to be fair, did have a really good run in season 4. I believe he's a 2-time United States champion. Yeah. So for what that's worth. But 3 keepers. Ella Rubao, Heath Manhattan, and Nikita Lyons. I picked Nikita because in season 1, when I had like the 3 contracts and I wasn't sure who was going to be the third, I couldn't pick Zaya because she wasn't on a permanent contract, I believe. I think she was on a 10-week contract that I renewed in the middle of the season. So those contracts are also not available to keep for the keepers. Similarly, legends, so like Stacy Keebler, which was unfortunate because Stacy did win my world title at WrestleMania, and so I had to vacate it. Yeah, so I had to choose, and I picked Nikita because she had the most wins in season 1. Like when it shows you all those end of season statistics. So like Valhalla had the most matches in season 1. I believe, yeah, on the men's roster. We had a couple at 17. Ella and Lacey also at 17. But Valhalla had the most. But Nikita had the most wins. And you can see here actually in the win percentage column, Nikita is one of the few that actually has over a 50% win percentage, which is significant given that she's had 76 matches. I think the most matches of anybody. Yeah. So like she's had the most matches and she's won more of them than she's lost. So that's significant. Who are my top? I'm guessing it's, yeah, Nikita, Zaya, Ella, then Heath. Oh, Heath has actually had more than Ella, even. So, but I don't think Heath's percentage. Yeah, Heath is at 41%. But I've been considering, like, for season 6, should I surrender Nikita's spot and give it to Zaya? Because Zaya Lee did win the world title at WrestleMania, and so I would like to have that consistency. But I think it feels more consistent to give the spot to Nikita because she didn't do anything wrong. I haven't given her a lot to work with, but she's still been consistently one of my top stars. So I think what I'm planning to do for season 6 is actually like involve the executive leadership team idea and have that be like on the line. So that might be like a built-in feud. I don't think I've done, let's see here. Like we'll look for Nikita again. I don't think I've done Nikita's. Oh, okay. I have done Nikita Zaya. I said that earlier. They had that cross season 1. Have I done them since? They probably had matches. Yeah, so like they were in a tag feud here. So that could be a... And I think they're also... let's see here. Lions. Yeah. They're also a fighter bruiser. So it works out. So I might like put that on the line. Is like, Xia Li versus Nikita Lyons, winner of the feud, gets the executive leadership position. That could be an opportunity for Nikita to like turn face and start going for the world title to sort of like redeem her claim. But yeah, so I am going to put on my wish list here, like I'm going to do Ella Rubao, Heath, let's do women's column, men's column, Heath Manhattan. I don't think he's actually a bruiser. I believe he's a fighter. Brooklyn fighter or whatever. Manhattan's not Brooklyn. Manhattan is Manhattan. And then Nikita Lyons. So typically in my drafting, I go for 8 women and 8 men. I try to keep myself to 16. It's also important in season 6, like once you're getting to this point, like by season 6, you have every logistic available. And in order to not lose fans every single week, you want to be using the high level, at least the level 5, maybe the level 4 if like you're hurting for money, or it gives you a better like bonus. But you want to be using like the top level logistics, and those are expensive. So when you're thinking about the draft for season like 4 and above, or 4 and later, like I want to get 16 stars on my roster, but I also want to have at least like $500,000 left over so that I can actually like book my shows and my arenas. It won't really be an issue past week 5, because Stephanie McMahon has the power card that doubles your profit for a week. And so what I've done in most seasons is in week 5, I run the biggest logistic, so the open air stadium, which already gives you a huge profit anyway. But you do that, you do free arena booking, because that big arena is like $250,000, and then use the McMahon card, and then you earn like $1 million, and then you're set for the rest of the season. So it's really just having enough money to book like the first month. So okay, let's look at stars who I'd like to get back. Obviously, I would like to get back Xia Li. As mentioned, I would like to have her eventually feud with Nikita Lyons. I would like to have her get back to the world title picture. She is one of my favorites, obviously. She has been a star in every single season, so that's another reason, as I like the consistency. In terms of her feuds, if we do a search for Xia Li, I believe Xia has primarily been a face. I think she had a brief period as a heel. Nope, she's only been a face. Okay, then we can use this. Xia Li. So we can see, yeah, she's been in a few like world title feuds, a few tag feuds as well. In season 5, spent a lot of time actually in the tag division with Lacey Evans. But she's had, season 3, she spent pretty much the entire season feuding with Vicky McLeod, and couldn't capture the title in the end because Vicky got vetoed at WrestleMania. Season 4 was interesting for Xia because she feuded with Rhea Ripley for the title. And then I looked back at my notes, and I had tried like some feuds that just never took. So like I think I tried to have her feud with JC Jane. But yeah, for the latter half of season 4, she just didn't have any feuds going on, and yet she was my top popularity star. And then, yeah, obviously had the world title feud, eventually going over Asuka. So Xia Li, I would like to get back on my roster. Go ahead, clear this. Who else would I like? I'm again focusing on the women's division, even though I said like I need to focus more on the men's, but women's division I have a better grasp of. I would like to get Aaliyah back, because again, Aaliyah has been a consistent star on my roster. I'm not sure what I would have her do just yet. Aaliyah is a face fighter, so she does serve the same role as Xia Li. So that's something to consider. But also at this point where most of my roster is like in the 80s and 90s popularity, like the face bruiser, giant cruiser, all those don't really matter as much. So I'm not super concerned about that. But I would, like to get Aaliyah back. We'll preview her feuds here. I believe she started as a face and then has been a heel ever since her turn on Ella. Had partnered with Wendy Chu, had a brief feud with Stacy Keibler, brief feud with Lacey Evans, did that tag with Ella, and that was against Dakota Kai and Tiffany Stratton. Had like a singles feud going on at the same time with Tiffany. I believe lost that feud, and I think that was my impetus for like turning her. And then feud with Ella for the world title. Joined Io Sky in a really powerful like tag team. So like if I look over here, just take the opportunity to look at Io. So like Io was only in season 3. If I expand this out actually, and I can see singles and tag here. Io was primarily a tag competitor. 12 tag team matches in season 3, all of them with Aaliyah. What's interesting about Io is that if I expand this column here between singles and tag wins, is Io doesn't have a great like win percentage. Only won 5 of those 12 tag matches, and also never won a singles match. She's, I believe, one of 5 stars who never won a singles match. Her and Jody Garcia at least have tag wins, although I think this was like a fluke win for Jody. But I do have some stars like Asuka was on the roster for a hot second, 6 matches, didn't win a single one of them. Bad Bunny and The Miz, actually both of them, season 2 stars. Both of them did not win a single match. And they only competed in the singles division, so they had sort of an interesting run there. Go ahead and hide these. So that's kind of that. What I'm thinking for Aaliyah is to bring her back and maybe turn her face. Since it's been a while since I've turned her face. But I'm also thinking I would want to turn Nikita face. So I need to have like heels. If I'm doing like my top stars, Ella, Nikita, Xia, and Aaliyah is all faces, then I need to have like the other side. Who else I would be interested to bring back Zelina. Like I had Zelina Vega, or Queen Zelina as she's known in the game, for 3 seasons. She was a top star, I think a multi-time world champion. Yeah. was also a tag champion for a hot second. So she was like a big star when she was on the roster. Flipped between face and heel as I needed her to, just really worked well. So I'd be interested. I'm going to put Zelina like in an asterisk section of like maybe interested. So it's like Zelina. Wendy is another one I'd be interested in for the same reason. 3 seasons. Has been in 2 of the recent seasons. I don't think I've really gotten everything I can out of heel Wendy Chu. So I'm actually going to put her in the main section here. I'm interested in re-signing Wendy Chu. One that I have been long interested in re-signing is Carmella. Like, Carmella was my inaugural champion. She did a bunch of tag stuff in season 1. I believe she's been on SmackDown ever since. I think she's been a keeper also. So it's possible that I won't have access to Carmella at all. But I am interested. I'm going to put her also in the asterisk section. Because I'm just interested in bringing her back. Obviously interested in bringing back Vicky McLeod, but I'm not able to draft her. So she will have to be picked up as a talent scout. Similarly with Carrie Rush, I am interested in bringing Carrie Rush back. I'm going to put these 2 in like a... what's another, like instead of an asterisk, like symbol? Triangle. Why not? So I'm going to put Vicky McLeod. Vicky is interesting. I'll go over her feuds as well. I believe she's a multi-time world champion. So Vicky is this row here. Yeah, 2-time world champion. Has some like really interesting like title defenses. Carrie Rush. So let's look at feuds here. I believe she's been a heel the entire time, so we can actually search here. I mean, that would be a good reason to bring her back if I've got all these faces. So like Vicky she started in, I brought her in with Cinnamon Garrett. So I had 2 kind of local talent I brought in at the same time, and was like, all right, which of these am I going to like more? And then I liked both of them. Cinnamon Garrett because she has like straight bangs that she wears in front of her eyes. And I like that. And then Vicky McLeod just impressed me with really interesting stories, as well as I watched only a single match. I don't typically watch the matches in MyGM, but I did watch as part of this feud here, Ella Rubao and Vicky McLeod, that Iron Man match actually, and Vicky McLeod has the Undertaker's moveset, which blew me away. But yeah, really impressed me there. So like, yeah, a lot of repeat feuds. So like feud with Xia Li twice in season 3, feuded with Ella again when she returned, and then had feuds in the tag division with Roxanne and JC, and then went back into the tag division. Feud with Lacey and Xia, and then ultimately, I believe, dropped the title in a non-feud match with Shotzi and JC. So, like, Vicky and JC, like, Vicky has, like, iconic feud with Ella Rubao. Might be interesting to revisit Xia and Vicky. That could be good. I would like to revisit Xia, or JC and Vicky. So for that reason, I'd like to bring her back. Who else would I like to bring back? I think of like my newer stars, like ones that haven't been around since like season 1. Like Carrie Rush. Kind of interested in bringing Rhea back, actually. Because Rhea was a world champ as well. Roxanne, I'm also kind of interested in. But for sure, I am interested in JC and Shotzi. Like we did see them. I'm going to put both of them here. again, more faces. But JC and Shotzi, because they're newer, I have the ability to like play with them more. I could turn them both heel. But yeah, those are two. And I think it's again a case of, let's see if I go back to the end here. JC is a fighter. Shotzi is where is she? Is a bruiser. So it's going to be a lot of like fighter bruiser combination on the women's roster. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7. Maybe leave it open. I'm going to put Roxanne down, I think. But we are unlikely to get everybody we want because the other shows are going to recognize like, oh, these are high popularity contracts. We want to pick them up. Roxanne Perez. So we'll just kind of see. And if we have to, there's still plenty of women we haven't been able to draft. So we might see some new faces, not just familiar. We might even see some revisiting faces. Like I'm just looking at Tiffany Stratton here. Or even Indy Hartwell. Indy, 20 matches, 50% win percentage. I believe no other star has had more matches in a year than Indy. Io had 19 in season 3. Wesley had 19 in season 2. Yeah. There's a couple 18s, so like Ilya and up here Valhalla. And yeah, Aaliyah as well has 18. So those would be some interesting names. But that's kind of like who I'm focusing on, is just bringing back again the consistent stars of Xia Li, Aaliyah, Wendy Chu, JC, Shotzi, Roxanne. Yeah. Oh, Roxanne, I'm not. Put a question mark under her. That's what I'm thinking for the women's division. For the men's division, obviously bringing back Heath Manhattan, because he's the guy. I'm interested in like getting him back into the world title picture, because like I tried with the Austin Theory thing, but because I couldn't fix the match, or maybe I didn't fix the match for whatever reason, he didn't win the title. So yeah, I'm interested in what I can do with Heath. I'm not going to put him in the tag division because that's just not his thing. He's not a tag competitor, and I'm going to keep it that way. He is a top star. In terms of like consistency, like I mentioned, like there's been no other stars on the men's roster who have been on my roster for more than one season, and very few that have been on multiple seasons consecutively. So like I had Ilya, and I think I didn't even draft Ilya. I picked him up as a talent scout. It's like Ilya, I had 2 seasons in a row. LA Knight, I had 2 seasons in a row. Mansois, I think that's it. Yeah. So some names I would like to pick up would be some of those, actually, would be some of the ones who have been on my roster for multiple seasons. So the first name I'm actually thinking of is actually Wesley here. So like Wesley was on my roster for season 2 and season 4. So I think that would be a fun consistency to bring him back for every even season. So I'm interested in Wesley. Wes, I believe, has like switched between. We'll clear this. Search. And has largely been a tag competitor as well. So like when I brought him in season 2, had him in the tag division with Drew McIntyre. He then feuded within the tag division with Damien and Mansois. And then when I brought him back in season 4, I turned him heel and had him in the tag division with Dominic, which he then feuded with Sheamus and did not end up feuding with Ilya. I moved him out of the tag division to have him feud with LA Knight and Heath Manhattan. So this is a potential thing to revisit because it didn't blow off at WrestleMania. I started it kind of late in week 23 of season 4, and it didn't make the card. So that could be interesting, is bringing back Wesley to feud with Heath Manhattan. Other stars that I want to bring back would actually be these two. So Cruz del Toro and Karrion Kross. I think about them a lot. Cruz del Toro is like real life one of my favorite wrestlers. I followed him when he was Raul Mendoza. When he got his first win in NXT, it was like a huge moment. I really I liked it. And then he came on to the main roster as Cruz del Toro and hasn't been able to do much since. Online chatter seems to think that he's on the chopping block, which I'm not thrilled about. But Cruz del Toro is interesting because he's got 50% win percentage. Not a whole lot of time in the tag division. He's largely been a single star, but 2-time world champion, 1-time U.S. champion. Had a feud with Karrion Kross that was really good. Plus, it's Cruiser Giant, and I don't usually book a lot of those, so I'm actually interested in bringing both of them back. If I run through feuds here, it's like Cruz. It was initially in the U.S. division against Otis, who was the inaugural champ, and then feuded with Karrion Kross in like a legendary feud. I call it legendary. Before moving on to another feud that didn't go anywhere with Mansois. And then I brought him back immediately into the world title division. He feuded with Tyler Bate, feuded with Austin Theory, feuded with Tyler Bate again. So yeah, I think there's more I can do with Cruz del Toro. I typically had him as a face because I like him. And then Karrion Kross has been, I believe, only a heel. So we can filter on this. I think has only really been a single star. Yeah, hasn't even had any tag feuds. Oh. If I search for the thing, that means that's the only thing I want to see. Yeah, so Karrion Kross, world title feud against Seth Rollins. U.S. title feuds against Cruz del Toro and Heath Manhattan. Singles feud against LA Knight. World title feud against Ilya Dragunov. So I think there is a lot I can do with Kross. Karrion Kross. I would like to get, again, build that kind of consistency of like returning stars. I'm thinking about like Mansois and Seth Rollins, but like I don't feel strongly about them. Maybe I put them in the asterisk column. Mansois. I have an idea of like what I could do with Mansois, like have him come in as like a wealthy businessman who like buys Raw or something. Like that would be fun. But I don't really see what I can do with Seth. Other than have him linger around the world title picture. Which is just sort of my default, I guess. I'm interested in LA Knight, bringing LA Knight back. He was another one who I think spent most of his time as a heel before I turned him face. He had that feud with Karrion Kross. If I clear this... no, I have to do a search. Knight. So started as a heel, feuded with Heath Manhattan for the U.S. title. Feuded with Chad Gable, not for the U.S. title, I think, because he dropped it. Turned face at some point here. Probably because he was doing really good work, or like the crowds were cheering for him, or maybe he just asked me. But then in season 4, was a face. Feud with AJ for the world title. Feud with Karrion Kross again. No. Yeah, just for the first time. Feud with Wes Lee. feud with Roman Reigns for the world title. So a lot of big names for LA Knight. And I think there's still plenty of big names that we can revisit. Could have him do like a legend feud as well. That might be interesting. Who else would I like? What about people from last season? Like, I'd be kind of interested. I spelled Dominic wrong. Like, really wrong. I'm not interested in bringing back Dominic. I'm not interested in bringing back Roman only because, like, I had him on my roster for just one season, and trying to do anything with a Roman Reigns feud was like pulling teeth. It was just so difficult to get feuds to elevate for Roman. I'm pretty sure like he spent most of the time feuding with Heath Manhattan. Yeah, 3 feuds: Heath Manhattan, Matador, and then LA Knight. And yeah, they aren't like long feuds. So like each of them, I forgot to do my length column here. Whatever. Yeah, so like a 7-week feud with Heath Manhattan, a 7-week feud with Matador for the U.S. title, both of these for the U.S. title, before I moved him into the world title feud with LA Knight. So like kind of interested, but like, I'll put him in asterisk as well with Seth. We have the whole Shield. We have Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Mansoor. Yeah. Like, I'm interested in bringing Jinder back. And maybe Mustafa. Oh, look at Jinder's win percentage. Not great. Oh, Austin Theory. Yeah. Write down Austin Theory. Austin Theory. Again, but deserves to be in the world title picture, honestly. Do I have him here? Yeah, he was actually the world champion at the end of season 5. If that doesn't qualify him, he actually finished 2 seasons. He finished season 3 and season 5 as world champion. So if that doesn't qualify him for returning to my show, he has definitely only been a heel. Theory, and has also never been in a tag feud. Okay. Yeah, feud with Heath, feud with Chad Gable, feud with Cruz del Toro, Titus O'Neil, Trick Williams, Ilya, and then back to Heath. And almost always for titles. So he is somebody I can slot anywhere. He's a heel, so that's good. I'm always hurting for like good heels. So how many do I got? Heath, Wes, Cruz, Karrion, LA Knight, and Austin Theory. So that's 6. I guess I'll put like a question mark for like Jinder Mahal and like Mustafa. But again, not expecting to get all of these, so we may have to draft like new people. We also may run out of budget. And that can also affect what we can do. So like we may have to draft like lower popularity stars just to like have dollars to be able to book our shows. Like for as an example here, somebody who I have not ever had on my roster for the women's division, who I know would be an inexpensive contract and is somebody who I would be interested in building up, would be Dana Brooke. Yeah, that's just another example. I know like Caden Carter and Katana Chance, I haven't really, oddly enough, like even though they're a tag team in real life, they're 2 of the very few people who have not actually been in a tag team ever. So, given the number of matches that they had, Charlotte is another example of somebody who was never really a tag competitor. On the men's side, I don't think I really... Luke Gallows, I guess, is surprising. AJ, Roman, and Matt. So very few have never been in tag team matches, but yeah, they'd be kind of interesting. And I think I would also this season like to build up a men's star like from scratch. So like hire a local talent and build them up like I did with Heath and Matt. Just kind of all depends. One thing I wish I'd paid attention to more is what the other shows were doing. So like I know there is at least one local talent. There's a couple, I think. So like there's Jerry Sweat, there's Broderick or Broderick, whatever. I think Broderick is like one of Matt Riddle's moves. But like Broderick is somebody who I know got built up on one of the other shows. Like those are stars that would be interesting to recruit. I know like some of the other shows, like SmackDown was like copying me for a while. I believe in season 2, they had their champions were the same as like my inaugural champions. So like they had Carmella and Seth Rollins as their champions. Maybe this season I'll actually do something with the men's tag division because I just never care about that division at all. I usually just put it on 2 stars and then switch it somewhere in the middle of the season, and then they don't make WrestleMania because I just don't care. Women's division is different. I've had more kind of back and forth with them. Like season 5 had 3 title changes, which is significant. Ultimately landing on Shotzi and JC. So yeah, doing maybe something with the tag division could be something. I say Heath is not a tag guy, but Heath was a tag champion with Cruz del Toro at some point. Is that true? Heath Manhattan. It is not true. I guess I did say that this is unaudited. So this would be in season 3. We can just do a quick little audit then. So we'll filter on men's tag. Season 3. Huh. They did win the tag titles. So why isn't it reflected here? If we filter on men's tag champions. Did I put who's his partner? Cruz del Toro? Cruz isn't on here either. Where is Heath Manhattan and Cruz del Toro? They don't show here. Or no, they do show here. I just didn't write it down. That's bizarre. Okay. Well, I guess that's one rambling that doesn't make any... Or I have to kind of like take back. It's like Heath and Cruz. And because I'm not using formulas anymore, I do need to revise those. So that brings Heath to 5 titles and Cruz to 4. So some of my like top stars then. Theory has 4. Let's sort, just for fun, sort by titles. So yeah, most titles is Ella with 6, Heath with 5, and then Aaliyah, Zaya, Cruz, and Theory with 4 each. Interesting. Well, I've got my plan here. So let's do a draft then. I'll do an intro once I get the PS4 running here, but I have been Breadfiesta. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope your day is going exactly the way that you want it to.